I never thought I'd pull the trigger on my own life. But that's exactly what I did the day I found out Jake had sold my father's watch for pocket change. It wasn't the money that broke me, it was the lie. The one he'd buried so deep it festered like an untreated wound. And then the pawn shop called, whispering secrets that turned our perfect American dream into a nightmare straight out of the heartland's darkest underbelly. That call came on a Tuesday. The kind of gray Chicago morning where the wind off Lake Michigan bites like regret. I'd been nursing a black coffee in our cramped kitchen, staring at the eviction notice taped to the fridge like it was a love letter from hell. Jake had been gone for days, chasing some business opportunity in the suburbs, or so he said. Our marriage was a house of cards built on his charm and my blind faith, 10 years of it, crumbling under the weight of his gambling debts and my endless overtime shifts at the hospital. The phone rang, shattering the silence. Unknown number, but I picked up anyway. Desperation makes you reckless. Eden? This is Marty from Gold Rush Pawn on Halstead. You the one who dropped off that heirloom watch last week? The Patek Philippe with the engraving. My stomach dropped. That watch wasn't mine to drop off. It was Dad's, the one he wore through 2 tours in Nam, the one he pawned his soul to buy back after Mom died, the one he left me with a note. Time's the only thing we can't steal. Kid. Guard it. Jake knew that. He'd held it during our vows. Promised to cherish it like he cherished me. No, I whispered, my voice cracking like thin ice. That was my husband. What about it? Marty cleared his throat, the sound like gravel under tires. Well, Mum, we had a buyer back out. Things worth at least 50 grand. Easy. But your hubby's paperwork. It's got some red flags. Serial number traces back to a police report from 15. You know anything about that? The world tilted. 2015. The year Jake walked free. And I went down for the armed robbery he pulled off in a ski mask. The year I did 18 months in Cook County for accessory after the fact. Because I lied to the cops, said I was home alone that night, covering for him while he boosted ATMs in the dead of winter. They called it protecting my man, but it was love. Stupid and suffocating. When I got out, Jake swore it was a one-time thing. Swore he'd change. And I believed him. Because what else was there? A single mom from the South Side, scraping by on nursing school loans, finally grabbing a slice of the white picket fence fantasy. But now, Marty's words clawed at me. That watch wasn't just heirloom, it was evidence. Dad had found it in Jake's duffel after the robbery. Jake, crashing on our couch back when we were just dating, fresh out of community college with dreams of flipping houses. Dad confronted him, threatened to turn him in. Jake laughed it off, said it was a gift from a client. But Dad knew better. He kept the watch locked away, waiting for the right moment to expose the snake in our garden. And Jake, he waited too. Waited until Dad's heart gave out in that dingy garage, tinkering with his old Chevy, 2 years after I got out. Waited until the funeral, when grief had me numb, and he slipped the watch from the safety deposit box like it was his by marriage. Sold it now, desperate for cash to feed his poker habit at the underground clubs in River North. I hung up on Marty, my hands shaking so bad I dropped the phone. Rage boiled up, hot and unfamiliar, tasting like the steel of those prison bars I'd rattled for him. This wasn't just betrayal, it was theft of everything: my father, my freedom, my future. Jake had played me like a mark in one of his cons, and I'd let him because I thought love meant swallowing the bitter pills. That afternoon, I drove to the pawn shop, the city blurring past in a haze of honking taxis and sodium lights. Halsted Street was alive with the usual chaos, vendors hawking knockoff Bulls jerseys, a homeless vet strumming a guitar for quarters, the L train rumbling overhead like God's own migraine. Gold Rush Pawn squatted between a taqueria and a bail bonds office, its window cluttered with tarnished dreams, gold chains, faded guitars, a wedding ring that screamed regret. Marty was behind the counter, a beefy guy with a Mets cap pulled low, tattoos snaking up his arms like bad decisions. He recognized me from the security cam footage Jake had triggered on his way out. Eden, right? Look, I ain't one to stir shit. But that watch, it's got history. Show me, I said,
my voice steady for the first time that day.
He unlocked the case, the Patek gleaming under the fluorescence like a guilty conscience. The engraving caught the light. To Jack. From the boys in '68, time heals. Brother. Dad's name wasn't Jack. It was the alias he'd used overseas. A secret he only shared with me after too many whiskeys. As I traced the face, memories flooded, Dad's calloused hands winding it every Sunday, telling stories of Hughes City while Mom fried perch in the kitchen. He was the rock, the ex-Marine turned union welder who taught me to spot a liar by their eyes. Folks like that, Hayden, they sell their souls for a quick buck. You steer clear. I hadn't. I'd married one. Marty leaned in, voice low. Your man's in deep. Came in twitchy, haggled like his life depended on it. Said it was a family piece. No questions. But the serial? Matches a bolo from a heist in Evanston. Cops been sniffing around pawn tickets for months. Evanston. The robbery. Jake had ditched the watch there. In a panic. After Dad confronted him. But Dad had covered it up. Retrieved it somehow. Hid it to protect me. Because even then, he saw how I looked at Jake, like he was salvation from the projects. Why tell me? I asked, slipping the watch into my pocket. Marty shrugged. Family's family. And you look like you need a win. I left with the watch and a plan hatching in the dark corners of my mind. Revenge wasn't a word I threw around lightly. It was a South Side sacrament, whispered in barbershops and backyards. But Jake, he'd crossed the Rubicon. No more turning the other cheek. That night, I waited in our apartment, the one we'd rented in Logan Square with dreams of flipping it into equity. The lease was up, and so was I. When Jake stumbled in at 2 a.m., reeking of bourbon and cheap cologne, I was on the couch, watch in hand, a .38 revolver from Dad's lockbox on the coffee table, unloaded, but the threat was loaded enough. Babe, what's with the hardware? He grinned that crooked smile, the one that used to melt me. Now, just a mass cracking at the edges. You sold it,
Jake.
My father's soul for $100. And the pawn shop? They know everything. His face drained of color, faster than milk turning in the heat. Eden, listen.
No.
I stood, the revolver steady in my grip. You listen. 2015. That ATM job. I took the fall for you. Lied to detectives. Swallowed the plea deal. Did time in a cell that smelled like despair while you partied with the payout. And Dad, he knew. He covered your ass with that watch. Kept it quiet to spare me more pain.
But you.
You pawned it like trash. He backed up, hands raised, eyes darting to the door. Classic Jake, always the escape artist. It was a mistake. Debts piling up. The house flip-tanked in this market. I was gonna buy it back. Eden. Swear on our vows. Lies. The word hung heavy, tasting like ash. But beneath the fury, a sliver of doubt wormed in. Was this really him? The boy who'd sketched blueprints for our dream home on napkins at Manny's Deli? Or had I built him into a monster to justify my own failures? We argued till dawn, voices echoing off peeling wallpaper. He begged. I accused. By sunrise, he was gone again, promising to fix it. I didn't believe him. Instead, I started digging old phone records, bank statements I'd ignored for years. What I found wasn't just betrayal, it was a web. Jake wasn't gambling alone. He'd fallen in with Victor Russo, a mid-level bookie from the old Ward machine days. The kind of guy who ran numbers out of Italian beef joints and owned half the aldermen in the 30th. Victor's crew had bankrolled Jake's flips. But when the market crashed post-pandemic, they came collecting, with interest that bled into threats. And Dad's death?
Not so clean.
Autopsy said heart attack. But the garage reeked of exhaust that night. Jake had been there hours before, arguing over the watch. Coincidence? Or had Victor leaned on him to silence the old man? The pawn shop call had cracked it open. But now I was in the abyss. Revenge meant going after Jake. Sure, but Victor? That was playing God in a city that ate hubris for breakfast. Days blurred into a fever dream. I called in sick to the ER. Spent hours in the Cook County Library's microfilm room, poring over clippings from 2015. The Evanston heist. 2 masked men. One with a tattoo of a coiled snake on his wrist, Jake's ink, hidden under long sleeves. Dad's obituary mentioned unexpected loss, but a follow-up obit in the Tribune noted questions linger about carbon monoxide levels. Victor Russo's name popped up in a 2018 bust extortion racket, but charges dropped. He was untouchable. The ghost in Chicago's machine. Jake had sold us out to him years ago, trading my freedom for a seat at the table. And me, I'd been the perfect patsy, loyal, loving, blind. I confronted Jake at his office, a dingy bar in Pilsen called the Rusty Nail, where aspiring moguls nurse dreams and hangovers. He was at a corner booth, nursing a whiskey, eyes bloodshot. Eden. Not here. He glanced at the bartender, a grizzled vet with Russo's snake tat peeking from his cuff. Victor's got you by the balls, doesn't he? I slid into the seat, voice a hiss. Dad found out. That's why you fought that night. You poisoned him.
Jake. Slow.
With the garage fumes. Then sold the watch to cover tracks. His laugh was bitter.
Hollow.
Poison? Christ. Aiden, you're unhinged. Dad had a bum ticker, Doc said it. I loved the old man. He was gonna rat me to you. Sure. But I handled it clean. Clean? I slammed the watch on the table, drawing stares. Like selling this for chump change? Marty's holding the ticket, and it ties back to Evanston. Cops get wind. You're done. Jake's mask slipped then, fear. Raw and real. You think Victor gives a shit about your sob story? He's got hooks in everyone. Including you.
Nurse.
Those overtime shifts? Paid for by his crew's donations to the hospital. You want revenge? Start with the mirror. The words landed like a gut punch. Was he lying? Or had I been complicit all along, taking those anonymous grants for the ER wing, ignoring the whispers about Russo's philanthropy? My hands weren't clean. They were stained with the same greed. but doubt fueled the fire. That night, I broke into Jake's truck, spare key under the mat, because trust dies hard. Inside, ledgers, scribbled debts, a burner phone with text to Victor, watch gone. Loose end tied. Need extension.
Tied.
Like Dad's fate. I copied it all. Emailed to a contact at the Sun-Times, a reporter I'd nursed back from a bender last year. Anonymous tip. Let the press do the dirty work. But revenge isn't a straight shot. It's a boomerang. By morning, Jake was at our door, wild-eyed, with 2 goons from Victor's stable, toughs in knockoff Armani, smelling of garlic and menace. Eden, you gotta come with us. Boss wants a word. I grabbed the .38, loaded this time, and fired a warning shot into the ceiling. Plaster rained like confetti from hell. The goons scattered. Jake frozen in Betrayal's mirror. You bitch, he spat. After everything? Everything you stole, I shot back. Get out. Or the next one's for you. He left. But not before whispering. Victor's coming. And he don't miss. The city closed in after that. Paranoia rode shotgun. Every shadow a Russo man. Every call a threat. I holed up in a motel off I-90. The kind with hourly rates and roaches as roommates. The watch ticked on the nightstand. A metronome to my unraveling. The Sun-Times piece dropped Friday. Pawn shop heist ties back to Windy City mob echoes. Marty's ticket front and center. Jake's name in bold. Victor's empire wobbled, feds circling like vultures. But Jake, he flipped. Called the tip line himself. Spun it as my vendetta. Unstable ex-con wife. Framing him for Dad's death. Suddenly, I was the monster, South Side girl with a grudge. Gunning for her man. Cops picked me up at the motel. Cuffs cold as Jake's heart. Interrogation room. Flickering bulb. Coffee like motor oil. Detective Ruiz. A no-nonsense Latina, with eyes like lasers. Slid the watch across the table. MS. Ramirez. This is evidence in a homicide. Carbon monoxide? Traces of antifreeze in the system, your father's system. And your husband's prints on the garage door handle. Homicide. The word hung. Heavy as sin. Jake had done it. Poured the killer mix while Dad slept off the argument, then called it accident. For the watch. For the secret. For me not knowing the truth. But Ruiz leaned in. Twist is, Eden, your dad? He confessed to the Evanston job in a letter. Mailed it to us. Dated the day he died. Said he pulled it with your husband to pay your mom's medical bills. You took the fall thinking it was all Jake. But Jack Ramirez? He was the snake all along.
Dad.
My rock. My liar. He'd robbed for us. Hidden it. Let me rot to keep his hero myth intact. And Jake, just the fall guy in his final con, marrying me to silence the guilt. The room spun. Betrayal squared. Cubed. I'd hated the wrong man. Or both. Dad's letter. Forgive me.
Kid.
Time's the thief.
Not me.
I signed the plea. Accessory to cover up. Reduced sentence. Victor crumbled under the feds. Jake testified for immunity. He visited once. Through plexiglass. I loved you. Eden. We were victims. Victims? I laughed.
Hollow.
We were the crime. Out in 6 months. I reclaimed the watch, worthless now. But mine. Chicago swallowed me back. But I didn't rebuild. Instead, I drove south. To the Gulf. where the water washes sins but not scars. Revenge? It was a hollow victory, leaving me hollower. Dad's time healed nothing. It just ticked on. Indifferent. Was I the avenger or the fool? You tell me. In America, the line's blurrier than a prairie horizon. The Gulf Coast sun beat down like Judgment Day when I finally crossed the state line out of Illinois. The Impala's AC wheezing its last breaths. I'd sold everything that wasn't nailed down. Our bed. His golf clubs. The dream kitchen knives, to fund the escape. 6 months in county had aged me a decade. The mirror showed crow's feet etched by fluorescent hate. Eyes dulled like the watch's crystal. But freedom? It tasted like salt air and second chances. Or so the country songs promised. Mobile. Alabama. Wasn't redemption, it was reinvention. I rented a shotgun shack on Dauphin Street, the kind with peeling blue paint and palmetto bugs the size of my thumb. Night shifts at a free clinic kept the lights on, stitching up bar fights, doping out fevers from the uninsured masses. Folks here called me Doc Eden, a title I wore like borrowed armor. No one asked about the tats from Cook County or the way I scanned every crowd for snaking shadows. Jake wrote once, "From witness protection upstate, we can start over. Victor's done. Feds buried him under RICO. I miss you." I burned it in the sink, the flames dancing like the lies we told. Miss me? He missed the cover I provided, the blind eye to his sins. Dad's letter haunted more, tucked in my glove box. Yellowed edges, whispering forgive.
How?
The man who'd built me on half-truths, robbed for us, then orchestrated his own martyr act. Hero or hustler? The debate raged in my skull. Nightly, with cheap bourbon as moderator. Revenge's afterglow faded fast. Victor's empire had toppled, headlines screamed, Windy City wiretap bust, but the void it left echoed. Jake walked free, relocated to some nowhere Ohio town with a new name and a government stipend. Last I heard, he was flipping burgers, not houses. Poetic. Maybe. But it didn't fill the hole where trust used to be. Then the dreams started. Not the soft-focus ones of beaches and boardwalks, but Chicago grit, Dad's garage. Fumes curling like ghosts. Jake's silhouette in the doorway. I'd wake gasping. The watch clutched to my chest. Its tick accusation. Who betrayed, who?
Kid?
One muggy July night. Post-shift. I hit a dive called the Salty Dog, neon oysters flickering over a jukebox crooning Springsteen. That's where I met Lena. A wiry paralegal with a buzz cut and a laugh like broken glass. She slid onto the stool next to mine, nursing a Sazerac, eyes sharp as she clocked the watch on my wrist. Patek.
Huh?
My pops had one, lost it in Katrina. You don't strike me as the trust fund type. I shrugged, the story spilling before I could damn it. Betrayal.
Pawn shop.
The double cross of blood and vows. She listened.
No pity.
Just nods like she knew the script. Sounds like my ex, she said, lighting a Camel. Ran a Ponzi out of a po' boy shop. I took the fall too. Wire fraud. Did a nickel in Carswell. Came out swinging. Swinging? Her grin turned feral. Started a blog, Gulf Ghosts, stories from the slammer. Went viral. Now I consult for true crime pods. Revenge ain't always a bullet. Sometimes it's words that bleed. Words. The seed took root. Back home. I cracked open a laptop from the thrift, $200. Screen cracked like my resolve and started typing. Not a blog. Not yet. A manuscript, Times thief.
Raw.
Unfiltered me. Eden Ramirez. Unspooling the Ramirez-Russo saga from the South Side to the slammer. It poured out, the hook of the pawn call, the gut punch of Dad's confession, Jake's crocodile tears. I laced it with Chicago flavor, deep dish debates at Lou Malnati's. The L's rattle like roulette wheels. Victor's beef stands as fronts for blood money. U.S. Grit. The American hustle gone toxic, where the dream's a rigged game and love's the biggest con. Lena read drafts over crawfish boils. Her red pen merciless. More tension.
Chica.
Make 'em argue the morals. Who's the villain? Your old man for lying. Jake for killing. You for covering. She was right. I amplified the grays. Dad's robbery, not greed, but desperation. Mom's chemo bills stacking like Jenga after her factory layoff. Jake's complicity. A kid from the suburbs. Seduced by easy scores. Marrying into the mess for absolution.
Me?
The enabler. Choosing silence over solitude. By fall. Agents sniffed around. A New York shark named Carla bit. This is Gone Girl meets The Wire. Controversial as hell. Readers'll split camps. Team Eden the Avenger. Or Team She Had It Coming for playing vigilante. Controversy sold. The book dropped in spring 26. Climbing charts amid think pieces. Is Times thief catharsis or cash grab? Fox called me, the scorned harpy of the heartland. NPR dubbed it a unflinching autopsy of Midwestern machismo. Book tours blurred into a haze. Signings in indie shops from Austin to Ann Arbor, where crowds grilled me. Did you really shoot at him? Forgive your dad yet? Forgiveness? Still a ghost. But the checks cleared. Bought a cottage on Mobile Bay, porch swing creaking with salt breeze. No snakes in sight. Lena crashed often. Our bond forged in firewater confessions. She pushed for the sequel, Pawn's Gambit, digging into Victor's web. Turns out, the book spooked a Fed informant, Russo's accountant, holed up in witness protection. He leaked docs. Jake hadn't killed Dad after all. Twist like a knife. Autopsy re-exam. Natural causes. Heart just gave out mid-argument. The antifreeze trace? Garage cleaner Jake used to mop up spilled oil. Homicide charge? A red herring. Planted by Victor to keep Jake loyal. Frame the wife. Bind the husband in fear. Dad died clean. Jake innocent of murder. But the robbery?
Real.
And my revenge? It had painted him the devil. Cost him his name. His life. The Sun-Times retraction ran buried. Author's claims unravel in new evidence. Guilt crashed like a nor'easter. I drove north, uninvited, to his new digs, a trailer park outside Toledo. Snow dusting the rusting swings. Jake answered the door in flannel. Older. Softer around the edges. A toddler on his hip, from some post-Eden fling.
Eden. No anger.
Just weariness. Book did a number. The truth came late. Words stuck like sand. The watch. Offered like olive branch. He took it. Wounded absently. Kept me ticking through the shit. Thanks. We talked till the kid fussed, halting.
Honest.
He hadn't sold it for $100. Desperation.
Yeah.
But to buy formula, not poker chips. Victor's grip had squeezed us both dry.
My shot.
Warned him straight. He owed me that. Forgive, he echoed my torque. Half smile wry. Not yet. Maybe never. But truce.
Truce.
We parted with numbers exchanged.
No promises.
Back south. The manuscript burned. metaphorically, in a bonfire pit with Lena cheering. Time's thief stayed, flaws and all, a monument to the mess. But controversy lingered. Fans split. Some hailed my pivot as growth. Others torched reviews. Eden's a flip-flopper. Just like her men. Lena laughed it off over oysters. That's the hook?
Babe.
America loves a comeback with claws. Claws dulled. Maybe. The watch ticks on my nightstand now. Dad's ghost companionable. Time doesn't heal, it haggles. And, in the bargain, I've learned, revenge is a pawn's move in a queen's game. You win the board, lose the soul, or trade it for something sharper. Winter gripped the bay like a jealous lover, winds howling off the water, turning my cottage into a wind chime orchestra. The truce with Jake held. Fragile as tissue, sporadic texts about the kid, Mia. Her first steps captured in blurry pics that tugged at scars I thought scabbed over. But peace? That's a luxury for folks without ink on their conscience. Mine was tattooed deep, the book, the buzz, the backlash that followed me like a bad debt. Carla, my agent, called from her Manhattan airy. Eden, the podcasters are circling. Crime Junkie wants you for a two-parter, The Watch That Watched Back. It'll spike sales. But
The twist.
you cool retelling the oops. Not murder. Cool? Hell. I was ice. The narrative flip had birthed fan wars online, Reddit threads dissecting Dad's letter like scripture. Eden's dad was the real MVP. Robbing for family versus.
Nah.
She enabled the whole toxic cycle. Toxic femininity alert. Controversy was crack for clicks. And Carla mainlined it. I flew up for the recording. Chicago O'Hara time warp. Same stale pretzels. Same faces blending into the blur of my old life. The studio smelled of overbrewed coffee and ambition. Hosts Ashley and Britt. All smiles and mics. Dove and gentle. Eden. Walk us through the pawn call, that moment of ignition. Ignition. Yeah. I recounted it raw. Marty's gravel voice. The watch's gleam. The rage that birthed a bestseller. They oohed at the gun standoff. Gasped at Dad's confession.
But the twist?
That's where it cracked. So, no homicide, Britt probed, eyes wide. Does that retroactively make Jake the victim? Or you the villain for the tip-off? The question hung. A live wire. Listeners would dissect it. Sides forming like battle lines at Gettysburg. Jake wasn't innocent, I said. Voice steady. He pulled the heist. Lied through our vows.
But murder? No.
That was Victor's smoke, keeping his pawns panicked.
Me?
I avenged a ghost that wasn't there. Villain? Maybe. But in this country, we're all playing the same rigged casino. The episode dropped. And hell followed. My inbox flooded. Death threats from Team Jake diehards. You ruined a good man for clicks. And manifestos from Edenites. Sis. Own the gray. Patriarchy made you. Lena forwarded the wildest. Cackling over FaceTime. You're a Rorschach test.
Babe.
Everyone sees their beef.
Beef.
Mine simmered low now. But Victor's ghost stirred it. From the joint, he sued, libel, defamation. The works.
Russo?
Ramirez, mobster's mea culpa or mobbed-up myth, screamed the taps. His lawyers, slick as oil, deposed me in a mobile conference room. Fluorescent hell. Questions like scalpels. MS. Ramirez. You've alleged, Mr. Russo orchestrated your father's death. Evidence. None direct, I admitted. Palms slick. But the ledgers. Stolen. The lead counsel smirked. Tampered? And your informant. A disgranteldex. Paying grudges. They painted me the fabulist, jilted wife spinning yarns for royalties. Jake testified remotely. Voice modulated. Eden believed the worst. I forgive her. Noble. The prick. The judge tossed it, First Amendment armor, but not before Victor's shadow loomed. A reminder, some debts collect eternal. Spring thawed the chill, brought tourists clogging the bayou roads. I dated tentatively, a shrimper named Ray, broad-shouldered with calluses like Dad's, who fixed my porch without asking for backstory. Passed the anchor.
Darlin'.
Cut the chain. Simple wisdom. Alabama style. We fished off the pier. His casts lazy arcs. My stories edited to PG, no guns.
No graves.
But anchors drag. Mia's third birthday loomed. Jake invited me north. She's asking for Aunt E from the pictures.
Aunt.
The demotion stung, but curiosity won. Toledo in May, Flatlands blooming defiant. His trailer upgraded to a split level with a picket fence mocking our old dreams. Mia was all curls and questions, clutching a stuffed alligator. You write books? Like the one Daddy reads funny? Jake chuckled, flipping burgers on a rusty grill. Yeah.
Kiddo.
Eden's stories got teeth. We talked sidelong. Over potato salad, his gig at a muffler shop, her preschool antics. No deep dives, but the air hummed with unsaid. Victor's suit, he ventured. You holding? Barely. A pause. Then, sorry. For the tip. The book. He shrugged, flipping a patty. Bought me this life. Clean slate. You? Slate's crack. I handed him a check, royalties earmarked.
Nostrines.
For her college. Times thief. Remember? His eyes softened. The boy I met at that '09 block party peeking through. Thanks. Eden. Truce holds. It did. Mostly. Back home, Ray proposed over gumbo, casual. With a ring from a flea market, etched with waves. No drama. Just us. I said yes.
Tentative.
The watch approving from my wrist. Then the call came, Carla.
Birites, Eden.
Hollywood. Netflix. They want Times Thief as a limited series. Your script credit. Exec produce. But the twist, they're leaning hard into the controversy. Jake as anti-hero. You as the flawed feminist. Dad, tragic patsy.
Flawed.
The word chafed. I flew west. LA's sprawl a fever dream of palm-shrouded excess. Meetings in glass towers, execs in athleisure pitching, elevated revenge porn, moral ambiguity cranked to 11. We make the audience pick sides, the showrunner gushed. Episode 8 twist? Boom, chat rooms explode. Explode they did. Pre-green light leaks sparking Twitter storms, Eden versus Jake trending. Memes of me as Lady Macbeth with a stethoscope. Lena visited set. Script in hand. This line. I shot first. Loved second. 2 on nose. Make it ache. It ached. Filming wrapped in 27. Premiere circus. Red carpet under Klieg lights. Jake MIA but sending congrats via text. Critics split. Variety hailed. A taut dissection of American duplicity. Rolling Stone sneered. Self-serving schlock from a South Side Scheherazade. Viewers? Carnage. Water cooler wars. Barbers in Birmingham debating dad's heroism. Book clubs in Brooklyn torching Jake's redemption arc. One viral thread. Eden's no victim. She chose the con. Who's the real thief?
Us.
For binging it. Ray held steady through the glare. His shrimper comma bomb. We married quiet, barefoot on the beach. Mia flower girl in a sundress. Jake Zoom toasting from Ohio. Vows exchanged. No secrets. Irony noted. But secrets fester. Post-premiere. An envelope arrived, no postmark. Dad's handwriting on the flap. Inside, a deed. To a safety deposit box in Evanston. Contents listed. Bonds. Enough for Mia's future. Dad's final score from 15. Laundered clean. And a note. Time to pay forward.
Kid.
Forgive the thief. He was just keeping time for you. Tears blurred the ink. Hero? Hustler?
Both.
I wired half to Jake. Kept half for the Clinic Gulf Ghosts Fund. Lena's brainchild for ex-cons starting over. Revenge's echo? Faded to whisper. In its place. A wary piece. America's not black and white. It's bayou brown. Muddy and moving. You wade. Or you sink. The series finale aired on a sweltering August night. The kind where the bayou hums with cicadas and regret. Ray and I watched from the porch swing. Mia conked out on a pallet inside. Her alligator guardian against nightmares. The screen glowed. My younger self, cast as a fierce Latina firecracker, staring down Jake's stand-in that Pilsen booth. The watch a prop of polished lies.
Damn.
You were badass, Ray murmured. Arms slung casual over my shoulders. Still are. Badass? The credits rolled. And with them, the backlash, tsunami. Phones buzzed apocalypse. Carla crowing Nielsen bumps. Lena forwarding death threats. Eden profited off pain. And, buried in the noise, a voicemail from Jake. Watched with Mia. She loved the magic watch. Thanks for the fund wire. Oh, you.
Oh.
The word circled like a shark. Post-air. The controversies metastasized. Congressional hearings on true crime sensationalism. My name invoked as Exhibit A. Ramirez's saga glorifies vigilantism in an era of eroded trust. Op-eds piled on. Blue-check liberals decrying toxic revenge narratives. Red state pundits cheering, finally. A gal who fights back. I dodged it all. Diving into clinic work. A teen OD'd on fentanyl-laced pills. A vet with PTSD flashbacks to Fallujah. Real stories. No scripts. But the watch? It started acting up, erratic ticks. Like Dad's heart in its final flutter. A mobile jeweler confirmed. Internal damage from the pawn shop mishandling. Reparable but pricey. Symbolic. Lena texted. Fix what's broke. Or let it wind down. Wind down. Tempting. Ray sensed the drift. Proposed a road trip. Gulf to Great Lakes. You and me. Closure tour. We packed light, Mia with Jake for a week. Hit I-10 west. Then north. The Impala reborn with new plugs. Alabama pine gave way to Mississippi Delta blues. Then Ozark hollows. Each mile peeling back my armor. St. Louis Arch gleamed like a promise kept. We picnicked under it. Ray's stories of shrimping halls grounding the ghosts. Life ain't plot twists. Eden. It's the study hall. Steady. I leaned into it. But Chicago loomed. Magnetic north. We detoured there unannounced. O'Hare to the south side. Streets I'd fled now softened by time. Dad's old garage stood condemned. Chain-link fence sagging like defeat. I slipped through. Ray watchdogging. Touched the concrete pad where he'd tinkered last. faint oil stain. A phantom heart. Here, I whispered, burying the watch's repair estimate in my pocket.
No feeks.
Let it stop.
A full stop to the thefts.
Jake met us at a diner off the Dan Ryan neutral ground, Mia chattering about TV ante. Over malts. He slid a photo, us at our wedding. Dad beaming backdrop. Found it cleaning. Thought you'd want. Wanted. The ache bloomed fresh. The series. Sorry if it dragged you back. He waved it off. Mia on his lap.
Nah.
Made me face it, the lies. The love. Victor's rotting in Supermax. That's when enough. You? Facing. We hugged awkward. Truce evolving to tentative tribe. Ray clapped his back. Family's messy. Best kind. Southbound. The heartland unspoilt. Cornfields whispering forgiveness. Billboards hawking second chances. Back home. The cottage welcomed with fireflies and feast. Lena grilling snapper. Carla zooming sales spikes. But the real hook? A letter from Victor. Prison stamped. You win. Ramirez. But in the game, winners lose most. Enjoy the crown, it's tin.
Tin.
Yeah. I framed it beside Dad's note. A diptych of dupes. The watch I left ticking faulty on the mantel. A metronome to imperfect peace. Years blurred. Mia's visits turned summers. Ray's boat our church. The clinic thrived on ghost funds. Ex-cons like me mentoring the next wave. Lena's blog morphed to nonprofit. Gulf-wide. Carla pitched the memoir sequel, Thief's Reckoning, but I demurred. Twists told. Let it echo. Echoes did. In quiet moments, doubt nips. Was revenge right? Dad's conheroic or hubris? Jake's absolution earned? Readers still argue, conventions where fans buttonhole me, Team Eden forever or you owed him the benefit. I smile. Demur. We're all thieves of time. Pick your pocket wisely. America's pulse, divided, defiant, dreaming. I chose the bayou's slow burn over Chicago's blaze. You ammed but unyielding. Tense with what's unsaid. The pawn shop call? It didn't change everything. It cracked the facade. Let the light in crooked. And in that slant, enough to live by. Time heals?
Bull.
It haggles. Hard and holy. I paid up. Walked away richer in scars. You? Debated over deep dish or daiquiris. Just don't sell your watch cheap.